Taoiseach, 2/3 of people believe it's harder than ever to buy a first home. That's the stark finding from new research published today. This sentiment is felt particularly strongly amongst young people. And the reality is that bad government policy and decision-making has literally shattered housing affordability for an entire generation. Look no further than the fiasco at Oscar Traynor Park in Coolock. Here, government will ask people to pay between €400,000 and €475,000 for a 3-bedroom home under your so-called affordable housing scheme. For a 1-bed, it's between €264,000 and €309,000. How are these prices affordable, Taoiseach? They might be affordable if you're well off or very well paid, but remember, this is supposed to be a scheme to help those on low and middle incomes to buy a home of their own. The reason the prices of these homes is beyond the reach of working people is the government insistence that public land at the site be sold to a private developer. What government should have done, and what Sinn Féin called for at the time, was to fund Dublin City Council to develop social and affordable homes on the site. But Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil couldn't stomach that. So despite Dublin City Council initially voting down the proposal, government pushed and pushed for this site to be sold to that private developer. To grease the wheels, a commitment was made that 3-bedroom homes in the development would be sold for between €250,000 and €306,000. Furthermore, that these prices would be fixed and not affected by inflation. But here we are, 4 years on, and no such thing. So much for those commitments. What's worse, Taoiseach, is that you now propose to do the same thing with the old DIT site at Ainger Street. You've decided to transfer that state land to a private developer without condition. You've exempted the developer from building social and affordable homes on what is prime city centre land. More bad decision-making, a huge mistake again with your eyes wide open. The land at Ainger Street should be transferred to Dublin City Council to deliver social and affordable housing. Transferring state land to commercial developers is a disaster for housing affordability. So the way forward must be to keep public land in public ownership and have councils or approved housing bodies deliver genuinely affordable housing. Tá Oireachtas seo chuir bhain polasa has spáin an achfuil ein clú acu, conas tithe freisréasúnta a chur fáil. Is é réiteach na faiban na tithe a thógáil halamh puiblí féidir le gná daoine agus ibrithe in ann a cheannach. Taoiseach, do you accept that prices of €400,000, €475,000 for a 3-bedroom home through a government affordable housing scheme is absurd? Do you believe that that is actually affordable? And why on earth are you making another big mistake in relation to the Ainger Street site? Transferring prime state-owned land to a private developer, exempting them from delivering social and affordable housing, is nothing short of madness, Taoiseach.
Well, thanks very much, Ceann Comhairle, and I too want to begin by paying tribute to Deputy Shortall and Deputy Murphy on your your significant decision. I want to acknowledge you both as very formidable politicians. I believe Deputy Shortall is the longest-serving female TD in the history of our state, and that in and of itself is a historic record which deserves commendation. Through your work on Sláinte Care, you brought parties together with different views to try and find common ground. And to Deputy Murphy, I know you've served for around 30 years in various political roles in your community and in Dáil Éireann, and I think you'll always be remembered as a particularly diligent and efficient member of the PAC, and of course you've both played a major role in founding your political party, so I want to wish you both and your families every happiness and good health now and into the future. I want to thank Deputy McDonald for raising this very important issue. And let's start on something that I know we can agree on, that for far too many people in this country, they do still feel that home ownership is out of reach. And we are working to change that. And I accept the bona fides of all political parties in this House who bring forward ideas and policies as to how they would change it. But I also think it is important to say to those people seeking to buy homes in our country that real progress is being made. That every single working day so far this year in Ireland, we're seeing 321 new homes commence construction. Every single working day, 321. So far this year, I'll get to affordability now. So far this year, we're seeing around 500 people a week buy their first home. So sometimes you get the impression from you that nobody's buying a house, that there's nothing happening. And simply that's not the reality. 500 people every single week. On top of that, on the social side of things, on the social housing side of things, we've seen the largest number of social houses allocated last year than any time since the 1970s. Never in my lifetime were there more social homes allocated last year as there were before. So we are making very significant progress in relation to housing supply. Now, I think it's regrettable that you misrepresent the government's position, conveniently, on Ainger Street. And I think it's particularly regrettable because you know the story better than probably most, you and Minister Donoghue and others who are TDs for Dublin Central. Because this House would have passed legislation, which I'd say you voted for the Grange Gorman Development Authority. And that set up an organisation in law that was charged with disposing of properties, including at Ainger Street, disposing of them, it's in the law, it's in the functions of the law, disposing of them, and putting the money that's generated from that into your constituency, into Grange Gorman. In one of the most incredible transformative projects. I think you described it as your university when you visited there in February, and were looking on in great marvel at the huge contribution it's made to education in your community, but much more widely than just your community. So it has always been known by you, I'd imagine by those you met in TU Dublin that day, that these properties would be disposed of, and that every cent of money, every cent, would go into the delivery of education. So you'll excuse me if I don't tolerate or buy the faux outrage here today, because you know well the law in relation to the GDA. You also know that when we passed the Land Development Act, the Land Development Agency Act, legislation that I think you opposed, you also know that specifically in that legislation, it references the Grange Gorman Development Authority as well. So there's no big gotcha moment here. The government position in relation to the disposal of DIT properties has always been clear. Dispose and put the money into education in your constituency to the transformative Grange Gorman campus. We also checked with the LDA, and the LDA in writing would have confirmed to government that they weren't planning on developing that site anyway for housing. In relation to Oscar Traynor Woods as well, again, you're cherry-picking figures. The reality of the situation is, across Ireland, the affordable purchase homes under government schemes, the average price is €267,000. €267,000. Of course, when you have A-rated homes in certain parts of the city, you can see higher figures. But we now have, on Oscar Traynor Woods, house prices that are 19 to 21% lower than market prices. And these are facts that are worth repeating.
Mary Lou McDonald.
So, you see, the problem is, Taoiseach, that you won't answer the question. Is €400,000, €475,000 affordable for those people in need of an affordable home? You won't accept either that transferring public land to private developers is simply the wrong policy. It is not the way to develop and deliver truly affordable homes. And you should not be transferring a prime inner city location, land so rare between the canals, for private development. That should go from the university to Dublin City Council for development. That's what should happen. So this morning we saw the publication of an ESRI report that had been commissioned by your housing minister about housing needs. And incredibly, it only looked to the future. It took absolutely no account of the tens of thousands of people who currently need a home, who need a home today, who need a home now. So you actually couldn't make this stuff up. It's actually very little wonder, Taoiseach, that the Housing Commission threw the book at you and said very clearly what we need is a radical transformation in housing policy. They were right, and we need that transformation now.
Position that you accept every recommendation in the Housing Commission report. Is that your position? Because we've written to you on the issue, we're awaiting your response as a government, and if it is the Sinn Féin position that you accept every recommendation in the Housing Commission report, you might just clarify that. I'll sit down if you want to clarify. Is it your position? Yes or no? Yes or no?
I am happy to say to you that we accept the finding of the Housing Commission,
yes,
that your policy is fair failing and failing miserably.
I
Please
gave you a chance for a bit of straight talking.
answer
Yes,
my question.
no,
Answer
yes.
my question about affordability, Taoiseach, if you could. Thank you. Thank you. I'm obliged.
So I gave the
I'm
leader of the opposition an opportunity to say yes, she accepts all the recommendations, or no, she didn't, and she refused to answer. Because you wrap yourself in reports when it suits you, but you're not a details person. You're refusing to get down into the details. Which recommendations are you in favour of, and which recommendations are you against? Thank you very much to the chorus behind you, trying to assist you, but I'm well able to answer the question. Thanks very much. Affordability very much depends on a person's circumstances. I'm sure what you think is affordable would be very different to other people, Deputy McDonald. I'm sure what I would, or other people in this House. That's why we provide a range of housing solutions. The average cost of an affordable home under our schemes is $267,000, and for anybody watching in, Sinn Féin would abolish the first home scheme. They'd abolish the Help to Buy scheme. You would. I've answered the question. Please. And the reality of the situation is, you promised people in Ireland the 300,000 home in Dublin. 72 hours before the local elections, you admitted that was bogus.
Thank you. Could we stop?
I answered the question. You just don't like the answer.
Please, stop the heckling.